We've never really done Christmas dinner before on Crash Test Kitchen, mainly because it's the time of the year when we're busy cooking Christmas dinner for ourselves and friends and family and all that, so we just don't really get time. Turkey's the big thing at Christmas that most people go for. We're not huge fans of turkey, didn't really grow up eating Christmas turkey in Australia. People are going more now for goose as well, but goose just seems a little bit complicated to us. We've really gotten to like cooking roast duck, and I don't see why, as sort of a bit of a compromise from doing the goose thing, a bit of a change from doing the turkey thing, you shouldn't have a crack at it yourself. There's an interesting slow roasting technique that we use that lets you get the most out of the bird and its delicious fat and juices. One of the first things you do is just go around the flaps of skin at the openings, look for any excess fat hanging on there. Sometimes there are big clumps of fat. This one's fine, it's really just skin there. So there'll usually be a pack of giblets inside. Take that out and we'll use that later for the sauce. Next part of the process is to prepare the bird to bleed the fat out of it while you're doing the initial slow roasting of it. So what you do, get some sort of poking implement like that. A toothpick's really good. I've got this. This is a sort of a cooking thermometer thing. Get under the skin, so you're making a hole for the oil to come out, for the fat to come out as it melts. But don't dig in like that, otherwise you'll go into the flesh. There's fat between the skin and the muscle, the lovely fat. We want to get that out, but we don't want to damage the flesh and we don't want to bleed the bird dry at all. Right, so there's our perforated duck. You can see the holes that I've made all over it. As I said, you're just aiming to get under the skin. We're just going to rub the duck all over with salt. We'll do both sides, coarse salt, whatever your local good gourmet equivalent is. I've just wiped that with a bit of vegetable oil just to stop the duck sticking. So now we're going to put it breast side down in there. That's right, breast side down. The juices and the oil and everything will keep the meat nice and moist. Oven preheated here to 125C or 250F, which is really low. And it's going to go in there for 3 hours. And I'm just going to wait for Lenny to get home from work to help me with the rest. Lenny's home. The duck's been on for what, about
an hour and a half? I've just peeled some potatoes, popped them in some water. We're going to bring them up to the boil and cook them until they're soft, and then we're going to roast them. 25 minutes for boiling them, and then another 45 minutes to do them in the oven. Those are Lady Balfour potatoes, all purpose, but also supposed to be good for roasting as well as being all purpose. I've already just also sliced up a cabbage. I'm just going to sort of saute that in some butter, very simply. We're going to make a giblet broth, and then we make the broth and what comes out of our nice duck mixed together to make a gravy. This is the heart, and we need to put the liver in only for the last 20 minutes. So I've got 1 chopped red onion, 3 sticks or 3/4 of a cup of celery, and a good handful of parsley. You don't really need to chop these things too finely. The giblets, apart from the liver, into the pan with the vegetables. Cover it with water 2 inches over the top. Pop that on and bring it to a boil. Skim off the froth, reduce it to a simmer and boil it for an hour and 10 minutes. Pop the liver in and cook it for another 20 minutes. Lenny's wandered off to watch the telly. I'm just keeping an eye on the potatoes. They're boiling, and I'm just going to turn them down just so they don't smash themselves to pieces. Also, I just got the duck out for a look. I've just been poking some more holes wherever I can see pockets of fat under the skin trying to get out. Duck's been on for 3 hours. Potatoes are still bubbling away. I just moved that onto the giblety stocky thing onto the small burner. Yeah, for a slower simmer. Going to get the duck out, see how much fat and juice we've got out of it before we blast it. There'll be some duck fat there that we can use. For the potatoes, you want to use the fat? Yeah, right, yeah. Okay. Turn the oven up to 180C, 350F in the meantime. This jug's one of those ones where you're meant to be able to pour the juices off the bottom. We're not going to be able to pour effectively, really, because the jug's a bit wrong. And just scoop. So what I'm going to do is I've got the turkey baster here. I'm going to put it in there. Palaver. Good. Okay. That'll do, I think. I can get that nice little bit. Yeah.
I'm going to put our duck back in, breasts up this time, on the high temperature for another hour.
Oh wow, they're completely ready. They actually haven't had that long. I think we've slightly overdone them.
Just so they're forkable apart.
A few keys to getting nice crispy potatoes though, and one of them is trying to get all that steam off so they're nice and dry when you put them in the fat. So I'm going to just put a little bit of duck fat down.
I usually put them with as little, like on their edge, lets the air circulate around them and stops it, minimises the sticking surface.
They're not as fragile as I thought they were going to be actually, so just going to get a couple of forks. Just a little bit of texture helps add crispiness. Lots of salt and pepper over those potatoes before they go in the oven. The duck and the potatoes have about 20 minutes to go, so I'm going to pop the liver into the duck broth. I'm just going to saute that cabbage in a bit of butter, salt and pepper. Add a ladle full of stock. Just turn that down. I'm going to braise it with the lid on. 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
The duck's gone 4 hours in round figures, including its last hour on the higher temperature. There we go.
Whoa.
I'll turn the oven off and just let the potatoes stay warm in there.
Yeah. So now we need to take it off, let it rest while we make the gravy.
That's nice. Browned up nicely.
So you need to drain this and take off any oil.
We've actually got another decent measure of oil, haven't we?
Rest of the juices from before back into the gravy pan as well. Just going to cook off any extra liquid there. When you're straining your broth, you need to strain it with a fine sieve because it does get little chunky bits in. Pan juices minus duck fat back on the heat. 2 tablespoons of flour. I just want to cook that roux, just for a minute until the floury flavour cooks out of it. And I'm going to slowly add liquid and mix it in. You can't put too much in at once because if you do, it will go lumpy. Oh, do you know what? I forgot the alcohol.
It's supposed to be sherry. Have we got any?
We've actually got masala. It's sweeter than sherry, but I'm fine with it. Look,
okay.
The idea is to use dry sherry, but if you don't have it, use some other, white wine. Just a couple of tablespoons. So now I'm just adding the broth till the consistency I like. I don't like a really gloopy gravy. To be honest, I reckon I could have done with just 1 tablespoon of flour rather than the 2.
How's it taste?
Neat pepper. And
just seasoning, as they say in recipes.
a little bit of salt, but not much. Okay, so there's our gravy. Our greens are braised there. Potatoes are in the oven, so let's carve this bird.
You're just sort of carving joints off.
Yeah. It's very rich and you don't really need a lot. You can then slice the breast.
You can probably feed about 4 people off a duck, but that'd be about your limit. So if you're having a big Christmas, you could just do 2 side by side in the oven. Obviously this is not a huge Christmas spread, it's a fairly basic meal, but we wanted to demonstrate the potential of duck as your Christmas bird and the fantastic potatoes you can get using the duck fat. And the gravy as well, which is, to be honest, is not something we've done before, is it? We haven't done...
Not the giblet gravy.
We've never used the duck giblets.
Juicy breast, because it's had that long slow cooking, it's not dried out. Got a nice, rich, lovely flavour. Those potatoes have come up really nicely.
Yeah, they have. I'm really, really impressed with them. I think the double fork treatment you gave them has worked. One of the big things people go on about at Christmas time, what do you do with your leftovers? What do you do with your leftover turkey ham? Well, I think the best idea is not to have any leftovers. And if you cook a duck, you're going to eat every bit of meat that's on it because they're not a huge meaty bird. And you can get 4 meals, 4 people out of a duck, cook 2 ducks, 8 people.
I do like leftover ham though.
The gravy's really nice.
The flavour is lovely from that broth.
And you can find ducks usually in the freezer in the supermarket if they haven't got fresh ones. You might have to scout around a bit.
Have we ever cooked a frozen one? I don't know. Can you really recommend that without having done it?
I've cooked frozen ones. Fine.